Did you know that just to change the oil on a Goldwing costs you close to $100 or more at a dealer? You can do a lot of these simple tasks yourself.
Hey everybody, Cruise Man here. And I'll bet you're wondering what's in the box. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's my brand new V-Stream Special Edition windshield for the Goldwing. I had this exact same windshield on my 2007 model and I absolutely loved it. It offers a little bit more protection than the stock windshield. It's a little bit taller and I think it just has a great design. I think it really fits the look of the bike. I think it looks like it was actually made for the Goldwing. So today we're going to take this box apart, we're going to look and see what comes inside, and let's see if we can't figure out how to install this thing ourselves instead of having to pay a dealer a bunch of money to do it. Okay, I got this packet of stuff that came with the windshield, and this has all of the, like the mounting hardware, and we'll go over that a little more later. And it's got the installation instructions. But what's really cool, it comes with a bottle of National Cycles Rain Zip. And what Rain Zip is, it's kind of like Rain-X, but for plastic. You don't ever want to use Rain-X on your plastic windshield or on your visors, but Rain Zip is specially formulated for plastic and acrylic, and the stuff is absolutely amazing. It really does work. It really helps the water just sheet off if you're in rain or something like that. But you need to make sure before you use it, check with your windshield manufacturer to make sure it's okay to use it. The first thing is to make sure that you've got your existing windshield in the highest position. So you want to loosen the two levers on your fairing and raise your existing windscreen up as high as it'll go. The next step is we're going to move the rear view mirrors forward. These actually do move, they're on a hinge. And it takes a little bit of force to do it, but you pop them forward. And that's going to reveal a bolt that we're going to have to unscrew so that we can then take off this front piece, this front part of the fairing. I think it's always a good idea to loosen this rubber. There's a little rubber gasket here that goes up next to this interior piece, and it just kind of pops right out. So I think it's a good idea to kind of take that out and loosen it before you pop these mirrors up. And you just kind of grab this mirror assembly and just pop it down and forward like that, and it'll just move right, just like that. And that's going to expose a screw or a bolt up in here that we're actually going to loosen, and that will give us access to take off this front piece. Hey, here's a little tip that'll save yourself a lot of grief when you're working on these mirrors, taking these bolts off. Have yourself a little microfiber or some kind of cloth to shove down inside there underneath the bolt. That way if the bolt falls out and you don't grab it in time, it won't fall down where you can't get to it. Okay, now we're just going to use this 10mm wrench, and we're going to go in and we're going to start loosening up this bolt here. Okay, once we've removed those two bolts, we're basically ready to go ahead and remove this front panel. But before we do that, it's very important. Go ahead and pop these mirrors back into their original position to kind of get them out of the way before we put this, pull this panel off. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just remove this. There's some little rubber tabs that hold this gasket in place on this front panel. I'm just going to kind of pull those little tabs out so that they're out of the way. Here's one little tip they don't really tell you about in the instructions. After you've removed the bolt that holds the front panel on, there's a little rubber, kind of a washer grommet that's right here. I don't know if you can see that. And it's a good idea to go ahead and remove that too, because when you take the front panel off, that thing's going to want to fall off and it could fall down into the front fairing. And once you've got all that taken off, this panel just kind of pops right off. There's a couple of little studs that it just kind of slips over on the sides, and once you pop that off, then it basically it'll just come right off. There's a couple. Okay, with the windscreen, remember we put it up in the highest position. You can very easily get to this 5mm hex bolt that you're going to have to remove. That's the first step. But then we're going to have to lower the windshield back down so that we can get to these side connectors. You can see they're kind of behind this metal bracket. But the first thing we do is I'm going to take off this first center 5mm. Okay, now that we've lowered the windscreen down a little bit, you can see it's very easy to get to these screws on the side. And there's 2 screws on both sides, Phillips head. We have one last 5mm hex at the very bottom of this center mount. There's actually 2 5mm hex bolts and a small Phillips screw. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this one. This is the last part holding the windshield in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install these little rubber, I don't know what you call them. I call them little guides, but they mount on this flat surface underneath this metal bar, and they kind of make it a little easier for this windscreen to go up and down. And it also probably reduces any potential vibration, helps it fit a little firmer. Here's just another little tip. There's an 8mm bolt that kind of holds the very front bottom of this bracket on, that basically sits up against the windscreen. I'm going to go ahead and loosen, or you can even take it out. What that does is that's going to give you a little bit more play where you can lift this up, and that will help when you're trying to put the new V-Stream windshield in. Well, as you can see, I put the new V-Stream in, and you can see right away this slot does not line up with the screws that the instructions say that you're supposed to use kind of as the secondary mounting points. I'm going to contact V-Stream about that. I'm not sure it makes a difference. I think it's probably overkill anyway because the stock windshield doesn't mount there. But I guess at this point we don't really have to worry about using that. We can put the stock bolts or the stock hex bolts right back in here. Okay, as you can see, we've got the new windshield installed. The V-Stream looks good, everything fits. I've got all my bolts tightened down. The only thing left to do, put this front cover back on, put the bolts back in behind the mirrors, and we're done. The V-Stream Special Edition windshield from National Cycle is my favorite aftermarket windshield for the Honda Goldwing. to me, it just looks like it's made for this body style. I don't know, there's something about it. It provides superior protection from the elements. It's easy to install, and it just is a great addition to your bike. So I highly recommend the V-String windshield.